There are a number of significant changes that have been implemented in the practice of real estate on June the 15th, 2018. They are the most significant changes that have occurred in our industry, most definitely in the 27 or so years that I've been selling real estate here in Victoria. There are a number of things that I want to bring up to you as a consumer to let you know what you can expect as far as transacting either as a buyer or a seller in real estate in light of these new rules. The first thing here is the ban on limited dual agency. Up until now, you have been able to purchase a home where the one agent represented the seller and represented you as the buyer in a limited capacity. They had to operate impartially of both parties. That is no longer available. So there's no limited dual agency situations any longer. There are exemptions for very small marketplaces. Victoria is not one of them. So limited dual agency will not be seen here as a result of the new rules. There are forms and disclosures. First of all, and we'll go with the easier ones, is the disclosure of payment, and that is on the disclosure to sellers of expected remuneration. So whenever a seller has an offer in hand or counter offers, the agent is required to provide a form that does the math, not just as a percentage, but the actual dollar value of how much the brokerage fees will be and how much the seller can expect to net after the brokerage fees. So that will be very handy for consumers. There will be a form that will be very common out there in the marketplace. It's called the disclosure of representation in trading services. So this you'll see when you bump into an agent and start having a conversation about your personal needs, your motivation to buy or sell, what it is you're looking for in a property. Before having that conversation, the agent is required to show you the form, have a conversation about it. There is an area that is optional for you to sign as well too, and it will outline what the relationship is between you and the licensee, whether that be a client-agent arrangement or a unrepresented buyer arrangement, which we will talk about next. And that is, if you pop into an open house and you're hoping to be able to buy it, but don't have an agent. I mentioned before, there's no more limited dual agency, that is gone, but you can still purchase the house as an unrepresented buyer. There's a form called the risks associated to unrepresented parties. So you may purchase the house. The agent will not be giving you any sort of agency representation. They work solely with the seller. It's a reminder about the importance for you as a home buyer about having an agent on your side. So we would most definitely encourage entering into a buyer agency agreement with an agent that specializes in helping you buy properties. There will be cases where conflicts arise. For instance, if you are working with a buyer agent and that buyer agent also has a listing that you're interested in purchasing, a conflict exists there. And there is a form called an agreement regarding conflict of interest between parties. And in a case like that, that agent that you know, like, and trust may not be able to serve you and may have to refer you to another licensee, another capable licensee, because of the fact that a conflict exists there. So just be aware of that. If you're interviewing agents right now, you can have a conversation with them about their marketing plan and about their history, but as you start talking about pricing and market strategy, you are entering into an agency relationship with that agent. And it gets complicated if you're interviewing 2, 3, 4 different agents, because as you talk to all of them about pricing, they all of a sudden have what's known as implied agency. So even though you haven't had a form signed, as you have that conversation with them, and if they're not chosen to be your agent, they can't bring a buyer to you anymore because they know enough about you. One of the other things that you will see, and probably the last thing I want to mention here, is open houses all of a sudden make for a very complicated process, because generally speaking, when you're a seller, you want your agent to have an open house because you're hoping that they're going to find a buyer who comes in who will ultimately end up buying your house. Now, your host agent, your listing agent, will not be able to do that. They most definitely won't be able to have a conversation about that buyer's motivation, need to buy or sell, or any personal information, because once they do, they've entered into an agency relationship, they will have to excuse themselves from either that buyer or even yourself as well too. And that's a real potential pitfall for you as a consumer. So very many changes happening here. If you have any questions about the new rules, please don't hesitate to call us, the Prime Real Estate team. We are experts in this area and we'd be happy to help.